Kieran Holt walked through the vast shipyard, his boots crunching against the dusty metal floor. The hangar was enormous, filled with rows upon rows of abandoned starships. Some were burned-out husks, others were half-stripped skeletons of metal and wires, and a few still had engines that quietly hummed, as if protesting their neglect. To most people, this place was a graveyard for old ships, but to Kieran, it was a playground. He had spent most of his life fixing things. Machines, engines, gadgets. If it had parts that moved, he could understand them. Humans were known across the galaxy for their ability to think creatively, to solve problems no one else could, and Kieran embodied that perfectly. Where others saw trash, he saw potential. Kieran's eyes fell on a ship that made him pause. It was tucked into a corner, far away from the other vessels, covered in rust and layers of dust. Its hull was dented, panels were missing, and the paint had long since faded. A thick layer of grime covered the windows, making it impossible to see inside. There were rumors among the engineers that this ship had caused accidents in the past, that its systems were unstable, and that it was cursed. Every other mechanic avoided it. Everyone had rejected it. Kieran, however, felt a spark of excitement. He could see the outline of its original design beneath the damage. The ship's shape was sleek, elegant, and strong. He crouched near one of the engines, brushing away the dust with a gloved hand. Beneath the grime, he could see the signature markings of human engineering, a style of craftsmanship that only humans understood. "It's hiding something," he muttered to himself. "I can feel it." The shipyard owner, a tall alien with green skin and multiple eyes, noticed Kieran staring. "That one? Don't waste your time, human. That ship hasn't flown properly in decades. Everyone else tried, everyone failed. You'll just be wasting your credits." Kieran grinned. "Or maybe it just needs the right touch," the alien snorted. "Suit yourself. It's yours if you want it for a bargain price." Kieran didn't hesitate. With a few exchanges of digital credits, the ship was his. He named it in his mind immediately, the Phoenix. It seemed fitting for a ship that had been abandoned, left to decay, yet still had the potential to rise again. The first few days were spent inspecting the ship from hull to hull. Kieran crawled through narrow maintenance tunnels, checked wiring that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades, and opened panels that creaked and groaned in protest. Every part of the ship seemed to tell a story. There were signs of old repairs, some sloppy, some clever, done by mechanics who had long since disappeared. One day, as Kieran was cleaning the main engine chamber, he noticed something unusual. A small compartment had been welded shut, and the seal looked original, untouched for decades. Curiosity prickled at him. With careful hands, he pried it open. Inside was a rolled-up blueprint, yellowed with age. He unrolled it on the floor, his eyes widening. It was a design made by humans, a blueprint for an advanced propulsion system, one that could give the ship speeds no other vessel could reach. There was a note scrawled in handwriting he recognized immediately as human. "For those who dare to see what others cannot. Build this and you will soar." Kieran's heart raced. This ship wasn't just abandoned, it was underestimated, forgotten, rejected, and now it was in the hands of someone who could finally bring it to life. He spent hours studying the blueprint, memorizing every detail. He imagined the engines roaring to life, the ship gliding through asteroid fields, dodging cosmic storms with ease. To anyone else, this would have seemed impossible. But to Kieran, it felt like a challenge, an invitation. For the next few weeks, Kieran worked tirelessly. He started with the engines, carefully removing the old, corroded parts and replacing them with his own modifications. He scavenged materials from other abandoned ships, mixing human engineering with alien tech in ways no one else would dare. His hands moved skillfully, tools flashing in the dim light of the hangar. It wasn't easy. The ship groaned, complained, and sometimes refused to cooperate. Wires sparked, circuits overloaded, and panels would not fit as intended. But Kieran persisted. He talked to the ship as he worked. "Come on, Phoenix. You and I were going to show them all, just a little more, okay?" His voice echoed in the empty hangar, and though the ship didn't respond, he felt as if it listened. Kieran believed every machine had a personality, a soul in its own way. He treated the ship with respect, and in return, the ship seemed to accept his care. One evening, after hours of work, Kieran leaned back against the wall, exhausted. Sweat ran down his forehead, and his hands were black with grease. He looked at the partially restored ship, its hull shining faintly under the hangar lights. There was still so much to do: navigation systems to repair, AI to program, shields to calibrate. But he could see the potential. And then something unexpected happened. As he connected the main power conduit, the ship's systems flickered. Lights blinked on across the hull, screens glowed softly, and a low hum filled the engine room. The ship was awakening. Kieran's eyes widened. "Hello," he whispered, almost afraid to break the moment. A faint, mechanical voice responded, hesitant at first. "Systems initializing. Hello, pilot." Kieran laughed, a mix of disbelief and joy. "You can talk." "Affirmative. Basic communication protocols online." Learning. Kieran felt a thrill he had never experienced before. This wasn't just a machine anymore. The ship was alive in a way, and it recognized him as its partner. Together, they could accomplish what no one else had dared attempt. Word began to spread quietly among the engineers in the shipyard. Rumors of a human working on the cursed ship circulated. Some were skeptical. "He won't last a week," they said. Others were curious, sneaking into the hangar to catch a glimpse of Kieran's progress. But he paid them no mind. The opinions of others didn't matter. What mattered was the connection he felt with the Phoenix. Kieran spent the night studying human engineering texts, alien tech manuals, and schematics he found in the shipyard archives. Every discovery gave him new ideas. Every challenge made him more determined. He was no longer just repairing a ship. He was transforming it into something legendary. One night, as Kieran sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars beyond the hangar, he spoke softly to the ship. "We'll show them all, Phoenix. They said you were worthless. They said you'd never fly, but they didn't see what I see. They didn't see the heart of this ship. And together we're going to rise." The ship's AI hummed in agreement, its voice a little stronger now. "Rising, confirmed." For the first time in decades, the abandoned relic felt alive. It had a purpose. It had a partner. And above all, it had a human who believed in it. Kieran closed his eyes for a moment, letting the quiet hum of the ship fill the hangar. Outside, the stars shone like diamonds, distant and cold. But inside, a new legend was beginning to take shape. A human and a ship, rejected by all, preparing to defy expectations and soar into the unknown. And so, in the forgotten corners of the Orion cluster, the story of the Phoenix began, not with a roar of engines, not with fanfare or applause, but with a single human mechanic who refused to give up, and a ship that had waited decades for someone to see its true potential. First morning light seeped through the tall hangar windows, casting long beams of pale gold across the dusty floor. Kieran Holt was already at work, crouched in the engine room of the Phoenix. The ship had awakened the previous night, its systems humming with a low, steady rhythm. The AI's voice, soft but confident now, guided him through the initial diagnostics. "Good morning, Kieran," it said. "Power systems stable at 78%. Minor corrosion detected in the secondary thruster array." Kieran smiled, rubbing the grime from his hands. "Good morning, Phoenix. Let's see if we can get that up to 100% today." He had spent weeks studying the ship's blueprints and old engineering notes, blending human ingenuity with alien technology that had been abandoned along with the vessel. It was painstaking work. Each panel he removed revealed more complications: frayed wires, missing circuits, and components that no one had bothered to replace for decades. But for Kieran, every obstacle was an invitation to innovate. He began with the engines. The primary thrusters were heavily corroded, their efficiency long lost to time. Kieran dismantled them piece by piece, examining each turbine, each coil. Some parts he repaired, others he replaced entirely with hybrid designs of his own creation. He found small energy amplifiers tucked into corners, remnants of alien modifications, and carefully integrated them with his own human circuitry. "This could work," he murmured, adjusting a coil. "Just needs a little nudge." The AI observed silently, learning as Kieran worked. "Adjusting the resonance frequency by zero point 0.3 Hz may stabilize the output," it suggested. Kieran nodded. "Good thinking, Phoenix. Let's try it." The thrusters vibrated gently as the new settings took effect. Kieran held his breath, watching the readouts. The energy output stabilized, surpassing what the original engine could have managed. A satisfied grin spread across his face. "There you go. That's the start of something great." Hours turned into days as Kieran moved from the engines to the ship's hull. Panels that had rusted through were replaced, dents smoothed out, and the paintwork carefully restored. He worked late into the night, often under the pale glow of flickering lights, speaking softly to the ship as he worked. "You've got potential, Phoenix. They all missed it, but I see it. You just need someone who believes in you." The AI responded with a tone that sounded almost amused. "Acknowledged. Confidence in pilot noted. Repeating affirmation, you are resourceful." Outside the hangar, other engineers began to take notice. Rumors of Kieran working on the so-called cursed ship spread quietly. Some came to watch, curious to see what a human could accomplish where others had failed. A few whispered doubts, skeptical that any mechanic could breathe life into a vessel long considered worthless. Kieran ignored them. He didn't need validation from others. His satisfaction came from seeing the ship respond, from feeling the subtle vibrations under his hands as circuits connected and engines roared quietly to life. The navigation system was the next challenge. The original AI had been basic, only able to follow simple programmed routes. Kieran decided it needed to think more like a human, adaptive, intuitive, capable of learning from the environment. He rewrote the core algorithms, blending human logic patterns with the alien AI framework. "Let's see how well you learn, Phoenix," Kieran said, feeding the AI small simulation exercises. The AI responded quickly, analyzing data from multiple angles, predicting potential failures, and suggesting alternative routes. Its voice, now richer and smoother, spoke with confidence. "Calculations indicate a 92% probability of optimal trajectory using proposed modifications. Efficiency improved by 17% over original design," Kieran laughed. "Not bad, not bad at all." Despite the progress, there were setbacks. Some systems refused to cooperate. Shield generators sparked dangerously, communication relays failed intermittently, and once, a plasma conduit shorted out, sending Kieran tumbling across the floor. Each failure frustrated him, but never discouraged him. "This is nothing we can't handle," he muttered, wiping soot from his face. "Every problem has a solution. We just have to find it." The AI offered assistance in ways Kieran hadn't anticipated. It began predicting issues before they occurred, suggesting adjustments and improvisations that Kieran hadn't considered. Slowly, the ship became more than a machine. It became a partner, a collaborator. One day, while testing a newly installed energy amplifier, Kieran encountered a serious obstacle. The amplifier wasn't integrating properly with the main power core. Every time he tried to activate it, the ship shuddered violently, as if resisting. Frustrated but determined, Kieran took a step back. He examined the core schematics and realized that the problem wasn't the amplifier. It was a misalignment in the primary energy channel, something no one had noticed before. "Of course," he muttered. "Everything needs to connect perfectly. Nothing works in isolation." He carefully realigned the channels, recalibrated the conduits, and reconnected the amplifier. The ship vibrated gently as power flowed smoothly. Lights flickered on across the panels and the hum of energy filled the hangar. Phoenix's voice spoke with what almost sounded like pride. System integration complete. Efficiency at 97%. Pilot, your ingenuity is remarkable, Kieran grinned. Thanks, Phoenix. We're getting there. As the days passed, Kieran continued to upgrade every part of the ship. He improved the fuel efficiency, enhanced the shields, reinforced the hull, and even added small aesthetic touches. Lights that glowed softly, panels that gleamed under the hangar lights, and a sleek, aerodynamic curve to the wings. To others, these changes seemed unnecessary. But to Kieran, every detail mattered. A ship wasn't just metal and wires. It was personality, capability, and pride. By the third week, the ship had begun to resemble the legend Kieran had imagined. It wasn't perfect yet. There were still tweaks to make, calibrations to fine-tune, but the essence was there. The Phoenix was waking up, alive and responsive in ways that no one else could have achieved. One evening, Kieran decided it was time for the first real test. He programmed a short flight simulation, projecting a course around the nearby asteroid belt. The ship's engines roared to life, the hum of energy filling the hangar as the AI interfaced with Kieran's commands. "Ready, Phoenix?" Kieran asked, gripping the controls. "Ready, pilot." Calculations indicate a 95% probability of successful simulation, the AI replied. They navigated through simulated asteroid fields, testing agility, speed, and reaction time. The ship responded flawlessly, executing maneuvers Kieran had never seen in other vessels. Its sensors scanned the simulated environment, the AI suggesting alternate routes that avoided potential hazards. Kieran couldn't help but laugh. "You're amazing, Phoenix, I knew it. Everyone else missed this. But we didn't. We saw what was possible." The simulation ended and the ship powered down gracefully. Kieran leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. This was just the beginning. The real test, beyond the safety of simulations, would come soon. That night, as Kieran slept in the small cabin he had set up in the hangar, Phoenix hummed quietly, its systems running in the background. The AI was learning, adapting, and preparing for the challenges ahead. Together, they had already transformed a rejected, forgotten ship into something extraordinary. And beyond the hangar walls, in the wider galaxy, whispers began to spread. Stories of the human mechanic who dared to breathe life into a cursed ship circulated quietly in spaceports and engineering guilds. Some laughed at the idea. Others were intrigued. No one could ignore it entirely. Kieran didn't know it yet, but the ship he had resurrected was destined to become a legend, not just because of its capabilities, but because of what it represented: human creativity, persistence, and the ability to see value where others saw none. For Kieran, the work was far from finished. There were still upgrades to make, tests to run, and mysteries hidden deep within the ship's systems waiting to be discovered. But for the first time, he felt a thrill unlike any he had ever known. "This is just the beginning, Phoenix," he whispered, staring at the glowing panels of the cockpit. "We're going to show them all. They'll see what humans can do. They'll see what we can create together." "Acknowledged, pilot. The journey begins," the AI responded. And so, in the quiet corners of the Orion cluster, a rejected ship began its transformation into something remarkable. With a human mechanic at the helm and an AI learning by its side, the Phoenix was no longer a forgotten relic. It was a promise, a dream, and a legend in the making. The morning sun had barely risen over the Orion cluster, painting the hangar in streaks of pale orange and gold. Kieran Holt stood in front of the Phoenix, his eyes tracing the sleek curves of the ship. After weeks of repairs, upgrades, and long nights, it was finally ready for its first real flight outside the safety of the shipyard. "Today we see what you're really capable of," Kieran said softly, almost to himself. The AI's voice responded from the cockpit, calm and confident. Affirmative, pilot. All systems report readiness. Fuel efficiency at optimum levels. Navigation algorithms online. Kieran climbed into the cockpit, the familiar hum of the ship's systems filling the small space. The controls felt alive beneath his hands, responsive in a way he had never experienced with any other ship. The Phoenix wasn't just a machine anymore, it was a partner, a reflection of his skills, creativity, and dedication. He activated the engines. They roared to life smoothly, vibrations running through the hull, a symphony of power and precision. Kieran's heart raced. For the first time, he felt the ship's true potential. "Let's start with a simple route around the asteroid belt," he said. "Nothing too dangerous, just a test of agility and speed." "Understood, pilot. Probability of successful navigation, 96%, the AI replied. Kieran maneuvered the ship out of the hangar, and the familiar darkness of space stretched before him. Stars glittered like diamonds against the black canvas, distant planets twinkling faintly. The asteroid belt lay ahead, a chaotic maze of rock and ice drifting silently in orbit. Most pilots avoided it, considering it too unpredictable. But Kieran didn't see danger, he saw opportunity. The moment they entered the belt, the sensors came alive. The AI scanned each asteroid, calculating trajectories, velocities, and potential hazards. Kieran followed the readings, his hands moving instinctively over the controls. "Adjust thrusters slightly to port," Phoenix suggested. "Asteroid at 12 o'clock, velocity increasing." Kieran twisted the control, guiding the ship around the incoming rock. The maneuver was smooth, almost elegant. The AI suggested an alternate path through a cluster of smaller asteroids. Kieran hesitated for a moment, then trusted the calculations. The ship glided through the rocks, dodging collisions by mere meters, engines singing with precision. "This is incredible," Kieran whispered, a grin spreading across his face. "You're incredible." For the first time, he felt the full harmony of human intuition and AI calculation. The ship responded not just to commands but to his intentions, adapting in ways no other vessel could. Every twist, every turn, every adjustment felt natural, as if they were two parts of the same mind. Hours passed as Kieran pushed the ship through increasingly difficult maneuvers. He simulated emergency scenarios, testing the ship's ability to react to sudden obstacles. Phoenix handled each one flawlessly, suggesting solutions, predicting outcomes, and sometimes improvising strategies that Kieran hadn't even considered. "Good thinking, Phoenix," he said during one particularly complex maneuver. "You saved us back there." Acknowledged. Calculating optimal responses in real time is now within operational parameters. "Efficiency improvement, 13%, the AI responded. Beyond the asteroid belt, Kieran decided to test the ship's speed. He engaged the newly upgraded thrusters, and the Phoenix surged forward, slicing through the vacuum of space. Stars blurred as they accelerated, engines humming in perfect harmony. The sensation was exhilarating, a feeling of freedom unlike anything he had ever experienced. Suddenly, a malfunction appeared on the dashboard, a minor energy fluctuation in the left thruster. Kieran's heart skipped a beat. "What's happening?" he asked sharply. "Energy surge detected. Probability of system imbalance, 21%. "Suggest immediate recalibration," Phoenix responded. Kieran quickly accessed the system controls, adjusting the energy flow manually. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he monitored the readings. The ship trembled briefly, but then stabilized. "Nice work, Phoenix." "You handled that well," Kieran said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. The ship continued its tests, moving further from the Orion cluster and into unexplored regions of space. Kieran felt a sense of pride swell within him. Every challenge they faced together proved that a human mechanic could see potential where others only saw failure. As they approached a small, uncharted moon, Kieran noticed a cluster of alien engineers observing from a distance. Word of his work on the abandoned ship had spread quickly, and now others wanted to see the results firsthand. Some were skeptical, while others watched with curiosity, unable to hide their interest. Kieran smiled. "Looks like we have an audience," he said to Phoenix. "Acknowledged, pilot. External observers detected. Suggest demonstration of maneuvering capabilities," the AI replied. Kieran decided to give them a demonstration. He maneuvered the ship in a series of intricate loops, twists, and turns, showcasing both agility and precision. Phoenix responded flawlessly, every move perfectly calculated yet flowing naturally. The alien engineers watched in stunned silence, their skepticism slowly turning into awe. After the demonstration, Kieran guided the ship closer to the moon's surface. He wanted to test the landing systems, particularly the adaptive landing thrusters he had installed. The terrain was uneven, covered in jagged rocks and cratered formations, but Kieran trusted his instincts and Phoenix's calculations. "Engaging adaptive landing sequence," Phoenix said. The ship descended slowly, thrusters adjusting in real time to the moon's irregular surface. Dust clouds billowed as the hull touched down smoothly, landing perfectly despite the chaotic terrain. Kieran exhaled, a mixture of relief and triumph flooding him. "That's it," he said. "We did it, Phoenix. We actually did it." The alien engineers approached cautiously, their curiosity overcoming their hesitation. One of them, a tall figure with silver-gray skin, spoke in measured tones. I have never seen a ship respond like that. How is it possible?" Kieran smiled, wiping grease from his hands. "It's simple. You have to see potential where others see nothing. You have to understand the machine, not just the parts, and you have to trust your instincts." Another engineer stepped forward, pointing at the sleek design and glowing panels. "The upgrades, the AI integration, it's beyond anything we've witnessed. Who did this?" Kieran shrugged lightly. "Just a human mechanic and my partner here," he said, patting Phoenix's hull affectionately. The engineers exchanged glances, their skepticism replaced by admiration. Slowly, whispers began to spread. The cursed ship was no longer a failure. It was a testament to human ingenuity, a symbol of what could be achieved when creativity, determination, and skill worked together. As Kieran prepared to leave the moon, he knew this was only the beginning. The tests had proven that the Phoenix could perform beyond expectations, but the real challenges, navigating hostile space regions, complex missions, and the attention of other advanced pilots, were yet to come. Kieran leaned back in the cockpit, feeling a sense of satisfaction. "We're on our way, Phoenix. This is just the start. They'll see what humans can do and they won't forget it." "Acknowledged, pilot. Future trajectories calculated. Probability of legendary status increasing," the AI replied with a hint of pride in its voice. The sun of the Orion cluster dipped lower, casting long shadows across the hull of the ship. Kieran watched the stars ahead, feeling the thrill of possibility. For years, he had worked with machines, fixing what others considered broken, but nothing compared to this. This ship, this partnership, was unique. And as they soared further into uncharted space, Kieran realized something profound. It wasn't just about building a better ship. It was about proving that humans could rise above doubt, see value where others could not, and create legends from the rejected and overlooked. He smiled, gripping the controls tighter. "Let us show them what we're capable of, Phoenix. Let's become a legend." "Acknowledged, pilot." "Legend status initiating," the AI replied. And with that, the Phoenix surged forward into the stars, leaving behind the hangar, the skeptics, and the doubts. A human mechanic and his extraordinary ship were on a path to greatness, proving to the galaxy that rejection was never the end, only the beginning. The day of the interstellar innovation race had arrived. The spaceport was alive with energy, bustling with engineers, pilots, and spectators from across the galaxy. Ships of all shapes and sizes lined the launch docks, sleek, advanced vessels with technology that most would have considered unbeatable. Yet among them, Kieran Holt and the Phoenix stood confidently, their quiet preparation belying the storm of anticipation swirling around them. Kieran adjusted his gloves and took a deep breath. "Ready, Phoenix?" he asked. "Affirmative, pilot. All systems at peak performance." "Probability of success. Optimizing," the AI replied. The innovation race wasn't about destruction or combat. It was a test of skill, creativity, and problem-solving. Pilots would navigate unpredictable space regions, solve complex navigation puzzles, and demonstrate both speed and ingenuity. To win, a ship had to adapt, innovate, and perform under pressure. And Kieran knew that this was exactly the kind of challenge humans excelled at. The starting signal blared, and the ship surged forward. Kieran guided the Phoenix with calm precision, weaving through the initial course of asteroid belts and narrow tunnels. The ship responded flawlessly, thrusters adjusting in real time, shields automatically modulating against debris, and the AI providing suggestions that Kieran combined with his own intuition. The first checkpoint required pilots to navigate a chaotic nebula filled with magnetic distortions and energy storms. Many advanced ships struggled, their systems unable to adapt quickly to the constantly shifting environment. Kieran leaned over the controls, analyzing the patterns, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship under his hands. "Adjust trajectory by 15 degrees, Phoenix suggested, and synchronize shields with local magnetic fields for stability." Kieran followed the guidance, but instinctively added a small correction, an angle that no AI could calculate. The ship glided through the storm perfectly, faster and smoother than any competitor. Other pilots struggled behind him, their automated systems overwhelmed by the nebula's chaos. Kieran grinned. "That's the advantage of human intuition," he whispered. Next came the orbital maze around a cluster of small moons. The challenge was precision. Any collision, even minor, would cost valuable time. Kieran and Phoenix approached carefully, scanning every surface. "Suggesting an alternative route to avoid gravitational interference," Phoenix said. Kieran considered the suggestion, then added a slight variation of his own. Together, human instinct and AI calculation merged seamlessly. The ship weaved through the moons, dodging gravitational pulls and narrow gaps, crossing the checkpoint with ease. Competitors who relied solely on pre-programmed calculations struggled to maintain balance, and Kieran realized that their overconfidence was his advantage. Halfway through the race, the final and most difficult obstacle appeared: the collapsing wormhole. Only a few pilots had ever navigated it successfully, and failure meant disqualification. The wormhole's instability shifted constantly, with energy fluctuations that could tear a ship apart if misjudged. Kieran tightened his grip. "This is it, Phoenix. Time to show them what we're made of." Acknowledged pilot, calculating multiple entry strategies. Probability of safe passage, 58%. Recommend adaptive approach combining pilot input with AI optimization. Kieran nodded. "We don't have 58%. We have 100% if we trust each other." The ship surged forward. Phoenix's thrusters adjusted instantly, shields modulating against energy surges, sensors scanning the collapsing tunnel for weak points. Kieran relied on instinct, predicting shifts that no sensor could detect, while Phoenix processed calculations too fast for any human mind to comprehend. "Twist 3 degrees starboard," Kieran commanded. "Acknowledged," the AI responded, adjusting with perfect precision. The ship dipped, rolled, and soared through the tunnel. Rocks and energy currents threatened on every side, but Kieran and Phoenix moved as one, a combination of human daring and machine perfection. For a moment it felt as though time slowed, the stars, the light, the tunnel itself stretching in slow motion. Then, with a final surge of thrusters, they emerged on the other side. The wormhole collapsed behind them, and Kieran's heart raced with exhilaration. They had made it. Around the course, spectators erupted in applause. Even the most skeptical engineers and pilots stared in awe at the human and his ship. The Phoenix had not only survived, the ship had excelled, outperforming every expectation. The final leg was a straight course through open space, testing speed and efficiency. Kieran engaged the full power of the hybrid thrusters, feeling the smooth acceleration as the ship cut through the void. The other ships struggled to keep pace, their AI-driven maneuvers precise but lacking the adaptability and creativity that human intuition provided. Kieran glanced at Phoenix's interface. Efficiency at maximum, structural integrity stable, predicting first-place completion. A wide grin spread across his face. That's what I like to hear. As they crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted. The race officials scanned the results, and when the final rankings appeared, Kieran's name and the Phoenix topped every category: speed, precision, ingenuity, and adaptive performance. The ship that everyone had once rejected had become a legend. Spectators and competitors rushed to congratulate him. The alien engineers who had once mocked him now bowed respectfully. "I underestimated you," one admitted. "This is incredible. You and your ship, you've set a new standard." Kieran shook his head with a humble smile. "It wasn't just me, it's Phoenix. We worked together, we saw what others couldn't, and that's the lesson. Never underestimate what humans can do when we believe in something." The ship's AI responded in its calm, now almost proud voice. "Acknowledged, pilot." Legendary status achieved. Kieran laughed, a mixture of relief, joy, and pride. "We did it, Phoenix, we really did it." Later, as the crowd dispersed and the other competitors returned to their hangars, Kieran and Phoenix floated in orbit, looking down at the glittering stars below. The galaxy had witnessed a demonstration of human creativity, persistence, and ingenuity. A ship once abandoned, rejected by everyone, had been transformed into a symbol of potential and innovation. "This is just the beginning," Kieran said, leaning back in the cockpit. "People will talk about us, Phoenix. Other engineers will study your design. They'll see what's possible when humans refuse to give up." Acknowledged, pilot, preparing for future missions. "Legendary status will persist across records," Phoenix replied. Kieran smiled, staring at the distant stars. He thought about all the nights spent fixing broken circuits, recalibrating engines, and studying ancient blueprints. Every moment, every challenge had led to this, the ship's rise from the shadows to become a legend. "Do you know what's amazing, Phoenix?" Kieran asked softly. "What is that, pilot?" "Everyone rejected you. They thought you were worthless, and now you're a symbol, not just a ship. A reminder that no matter what anyone says, we can take something forgotten and make it extraordinary." The AI hummed in agreement. "Acknowledged, pilot." Symbol of human ingenuity confirmed. As the sun of the Orion cluster dipped below the horizon, Kieran and Phoenix glided silently through space. They had faced doubts, obstacles, and skepticism, and yet together they had proven the impossible. Kieran felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had taken a ship no one wanted, a machine considered broken beyond repair, and transformed it into something the galaxy would remember. More importantly, he had shown that humans had the ability to see potential, to innovate, and to turn rejection into triumph. "Where to next?" he asked, a spark of excitement in his voice. "Wherever the stars take us, pilot. Possibilities are infinite," Phoenix replied. And with that, the human mechanic and his legendary ship soared into the cosmos, ready for new adventures, challenges, and discoveries. The story of Kieran Holt and the Phoenix would be told across the stars, inspiring future generations to never underestimate the power of creativity, persistence, and belief. The abandoned ship was no longer forgotten. It had risen. It had become a legend.